Hey, I'm back. I wanted to make a quick video because I had some time and I just watched a YouTube video from, oh no, who is this from? We're off to a terrible start. Chris Kitty. I will link that below. I suggest you guys check it out because, I'm all about supporting other YouTubers, not just YouTubers, supporting content creators, supporting people who are passionate about the scene. Speaking of, if you haven't listened to the newest Cemetery Confessions yet, check it out. I have a talk with William Faith and Scary Lady Sarah. If you don't know who they are, you should. They have been around and involved in bands and the scene since the early 80s. William has been in pretty much either been in, played on tour for, or produced for pretty much every influential goth band you can think of. So check that out. Cemetery Confessions, you can get it on the website or on your podcast app. But what I wanted to talk about was kind of inspired by that video, and it's this idea of not being goth enough. Now, I'm actually ironically drinking Arrogant Bastard Ale because I wanted to make a point that there's a lot of, there's always arguments about this. There's always people who are either butthurt or genuinely hurt, like genuinely affected in a negative way by other people in the scene. But I want to make the point that you know goth points and all of that is a trope and a cliche in the scene for a reason because we can make fun of ourselves. We can not take ourselves too seriously. And that's part of the scene, and we can't lose that. There's a fun way to be catty. There's a fun way to be sarcastic and an ironic way to be judgmental and all that. So I guess this is going to be a shorter video, but a good place to start would be with the fashion. There's the whole discussion about, do you have to dress goth all the time to be goth? No, of course not. I don't know why that's even a question. Uh, Not just in jobs and responsibilities, but just in your day to day life, people, some people can and some people do and some people can't. Depending on your job and your living situation, if you're a kid living with your parents, or if you're me and have a child or more childs, it's not easy to do that all the time. Uh, and it's okay. That's why, if you listen to the last episode, I kind of laid out what how I define a authentic goth identity, what it means to be goth. And the theory behind it is it's what I have called the homology hypothesis, meaning that, and I think I said this on a previous video, it's a amalgam of the pillars that make up goth. Um, so you don't have to do everything all the time. They just kind of have to be there. Some of them you can choose which one you have more of an emphasis on, and there's enough fluidity to make it your own, but still enough structure uh, to make it meaningful. And I'm sorry if I'm rambling. I don't have notes for this, but it means that I can make eye contact with all you sexy people. So yeah, the whole you have to be goth all the time is just as silly as the concept that you have to be a certain type of goth, that you have to dress death rock, or you have to be Victorian goth, or you have to be whatever. Uh, Angela has said this. I've said it. This is something we've talked about on the show a lot. But you can be all kinds of things, mix and match, add your own style, add your own flair. Take inspiration from others. Don't copy them. There's always a learning curve, of course. We have to realize if you see someone walk into a goth club that is literally dressed like the Crow, it's probably their first time, and it's painful to see, but everybody has to start somewhere. So that kind of gets into this concept of a hierarchy in goth, which is a lot of where this consternation and confusion comes about with the concept of elitism. I'm not going to get into elitism in depth right now. I have talked about it on the show. I might make another video about it with kind of my updated feelings. But hierarchies exist both online and in clubs, but not necessarily in a negative way. So first of all, a good starting point for me at least is the concept of subcultural capital. My ferrets are so loud right now. They're going fucking crazy. This is a concept that was iterated on by Sarah Thornton, who is a sociologist, and she iterated on an idea from a French sociologist, Pierre something. But anyway, it's the idea, it's the concept essentially that adherents of a specific cultural group trade knowledge, specialized knowledge, and whatever specific values, venerated values are in that culture for respect. So, for example, in my scene, I just did that interview with Scary Lady Sarah. She's been running Nocturna, the largest goth night in Chicago, for over 28 years. And she has been goth since the 80s and involved in the scene. So that active participation and that specialized knowledge is, of course, going to give her more of a say and more influence, and rightly owes her more respect than someone who's new to goth, or someone like me who has been in goth and contributed to goth for a long time, but certainly not to the extent, and I don't deserve the kind of respect that she does. Now, this is where the problem comes in, kind of this fear of hierarchy, where the fear is that implicit in that trade of subcultural capital for respect, for status, for recognition, is a system where you have some kind of elite that get to piss on everyone else. So first of all, the concept is fluid. This is something that people miss a lot. They think that there is, just one group of people, but you go from scene to scene, and online you go from forum to forum to platform. And we talked about this. I suggest you check out the Internet versus Goth episode. We really dissect this. But you have to gain your capital in new scenes. So like back in the day, if you moved before the internet, and even now, if you move from Chicago to New York, you're brand new there. Some of your credentials, as they were, kind of transfer with you. You can point to, if you're someone like William Faith, well, everybody knows who you are. That doesn't apply. But for the average, everyday, lowly peon goths like myself, you go to a new scene, you have to prove who you are. That's just part of human social interactions. You become part of that new group within a larger culture, and you gain trust on your contribution and on your behavior. Online, some of that does transfer because a lot of people have their profiles linked to every different thing. But even in forums, people who post more, I don't know if it's so much anymore, but at least back in the day, they had the little post counter and you would gain ranks for how often you posted. And that kind of stuff transfers. You gain, credibility. It doesn't mean, going back to my original point, that it gives anyone a right to piss on anyone else. Now, experts, of course, their views should hold or carry more weight than someone who, let's say, just got into the scene. What that doesn't mean, though, well, first of all, those experts should be able to defend their position. They should be able to defend it well. But it also doesn't mean that they can't be challenged on it. And it also doesn't mean that if they tell someone that they're wrong for these reasons, that they're an asshole or that they're an elitist. Now, they can do it in an asshole way, but it doesn't, an argument against someone's position, and again, see the cognitive science video I did, doesn't make that person an elitist, doesn't necessarily mean they're a dick. It can go both ways. The person trying to say that that person's an elitist can be a dick. You can't just dismiss someone's argument out of hand by calling them a name and not presenting evidence or an argument for your position. So what I'm trying to say is there is a system of respect. There is a system where people gain credibility over time, as they should, I think, as works in all human cultures. But that doesn't give anyone the right to dismiss, belittle, insult anyone else. And I think there's a lot of misconception that goes around where someone is told they're wrong and they immediately flip out, and rather than examining what their position is and why it's their position, what that other person's position is and why it's their position, you know, and it should be implicit if it's coming from someone who is well known, well liked, has earned that respect, as long as they're not being abusive, of course. There's no room for abuse. I don't care if you're who you are. If you're abusing someone verbally, physically, sexually, whatever, in any way, there's no room for that. It doesn't matter if you're the godfather of goth. But we should there should be some level of hearing those people out in any way. You know, I said, I took this from a friend of mine, but it's true. I'll sit down and have a beer with anybody. I don't care who you are, what you look like. If you're a juggalo and you show up to a goth club and tell me that you're goth, let's sit down and talk about it. You know, I don't think you are a goth, but let's talk about it. And if we discuss it, we don't agree, but you're into Doctor Who and I'm into Doctor Who, then hey, we'll hang out and talk about Doctor Who. It doesn't have to make you a mortal enemy, right? So, yeah, subcultural capital is a thing. Hierarchies are a thing. They aren't implicitly evil. They don't give certain groups of people or certain people rights to be assholes to everyone. It doesn't give them carte blanche. It's not like some built-in inculcation of abuse for baby bats. It's not evil. There's a balance there. It's nuanced. It's not a black and white thing. And yeah, I think that's all I have to say about that. I guess I'll just end it there because my videos have been longer. So again, check out the interview I did. It's a really good interview. We talk about a lot of stuff, and they have so much history and experience. It's really a good listen. That's Cemetery Confessions. You can just Google that if you want to listen on your phone or on the computer, or if you want to use a podcast app, that's the easiest way to do it. So thanks for hanging out with me again. Leave your comments below. The comments on all of my videos thus far have been really wonderful to read. Constructive, insightful, intelligent, and you guys have been great. So cheers to you. I'm going to go get drunk and play some video games, so have a nice night.